We've been to New Hampshire countless of times, and this time I just wanted to vlog my experience. It was a 2-day trip and I really just want to get straight into it. In this trip, we were only supposed to visit Portsmouth, but that plan soon went out the window as both me and my mom are very adventurous people. We drove around for most of the 2 days and visited many different places. I would say around 20 or so to be exact. The trip didn't go exactly to plan, but that's really the beauty of it all. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it, friends. To start off the trip, we went to the New Hampshire Visitor Center, which had a lot of information, guides, and maps on all things New Hampshire. We didn't really need it, but we haven't really been to Portsmouth all that often, so it was nice to just kind of like read up on the history of New Hampshire, Portsmouth, and what it is. We did find something called the Wentworth Coolidge Mansion, but we sadly did not end up going there, but I mean, it was in Portsmouth. Picked up a couple of brochures, one of them being a highway map, and one of them also read Lake Winnipesaukee, which reminded me that we should go to it. So we did end up going, but it was a long trek, so stay tuned for that. They also had a really good selection of beverages and snacks, not a lot of them being ones that I can eat due to my allergies, but it was a really nice selection. Along the way to Portsmouth, we stopped by Hampton Beach, which was so pretty, but I did not end up recording the big waves of Hampton Beach. I only got this really long shot of how wide the ocean was. It was so cool. This other location is what I believe to be the Seacoast Byway, but I'm really not too sure. But it was super pretty. It was just so serene and so peaceful there. All you could just hear was the waves going over the rocks and over the sand. It was just so pretty. Like I said, so serene and so calming, but it was so cold. It must have been maybe 30 degrees, which isn't the coldest, especially from where we are. But it was definitely pretty cold, especially since it's right near the ocean. And of course, I had to set up my bear stuffed animals because why not? The next stop was Barnes& Noble. I had a $50 gift card, so of course we had to stop by. Most Barnes& Nobles in New Hampshire are always super big. It had a cafe, which was super large. It had a large selection of toys, which I loved, especially the older Barbie dolls, and then, of course, lots and lots of books. And although I couldn't eat any of the delicious pastries and snacks that they had in the cafe, they just looked delicious. I mean, whoever made them, like, props to you because they looked so good. Good? Yes? Alright. Get a closer look at that.
What about my name?
Wow. Looks delicious. I mean, it looks pretty beefy. Look at how thick that is. Wow. I, of course, had to pick up a book on the mysteries of the universe by DK. I have two other books, one that is on weird plants and the other one that's on animals. I love them so much. Although I'm in high school, I always love to read the books that are from these sections right here. One of my favorite series being Hooky and also The Cucumber Quest. They are both comic style books and they're just amazing. I love all these books over here. I am a big fan of reading and also writing. If you have watched some of my videos, you'll know that I love doing writing, and I definitely like to write in more of this style than the typical high school reading books. Then we finally made it to the hotel around 4:30 and got checked in. The hotel looked just beautiful, and from our room we saw these little, I'm trying to think, they're like bubbles of some kind, but they were so cool, and the lady that was in the restaurant actually let us walk in and see them. They were just so cool and I love them. They were actually 84 degrees inside, which is so cool. So even though the outside was cold, the bubbles were just so warm. And the restaurant itself was so pretty. I mean, just imagine eating in here and then just seeing how pretty the bubbles looked from the tables. That's so cool. Now this is the second day, but I just wanted to quickly show you guys what the hotel looked like. Hi, there's me. The hotel room was so pretty. I loved how the door could be open from both sides, so it could just swing in any direction, which was so cool. There was these weird flashlights by the bed that could just get unattached from its little station, and it's literally just a flashlight, so that was pretty cool. And that was the view from the hotel. It was pretty nice. You got to see the water from there, and there was the bubbles on the other side of the hotel. This is what the lobby looked like, and it was bustling at night. It was so busy here, but it was super cool to see how everyone was just like, you know, connecting with each other. This is what the snack selection looked like from inside the hotel. I, of course, got some Sour Patch Kid watermelons. I mean, hello. But, I mean, it was a pretty nice selection. So it was now time to leave the hotel and explore more of Portsmouth, but of course we got sidetracked a million times, so many times in fact, that we went to 2 islands, 2 historical land sites, a lighthouse, and so much more. Portsmouth was actually settled in 1623, so it was just really cool going through Portsmouth and seeing all this old history of buildings and architecture and people that live there. It was so nice seeing it. I mean, just imagining how it was in 1623 was just so crazy to me. I mean, we passed through Strawberry Bank, which we had been to before, and it was so nice. Over in downtown Portsmouth is Prescott Park, which consists of over 10 acres of land, which is so cool, and a big lake in the middle, which had some cute goose in it at the time that we were there. And this is me looking absolutely freezing, and as you'll see in a little bit, there is a fence that resembles very much the fence in Germany that has love locks on there. I wish that we brought a lock, but we sadly did not, but it was so cool to see nevertheless. The park, however, is not pet friendly, so just a little friendly reminder, if you are going to Portsmouth, do not bring your dog into Prescott Park, but nevertheless, it was such a pretty park and would definitely recommend visiting it. Don't mind my fingers being in the way of the camera, but I just wanted to get a cute little shot of that seagull. I mean, he was just adorable. Your mom tells me to put on more layers. Don't step in this. Help! Say that again for the camera. When your mom
tells you to put on more clothes and more layers because you're crying like a baby, just do it.
My fingers really get frostbite.
Look at all the locks, Jasmine.
If only we brought a lock. Don't mind me being so out of breath. It was a very long walk in the freezing cold. I felt like my fingers were going to fall off. And some people locked some really, really, really pretty locks on this fence, like whether they were engraved or like a heart. It was so pretty. We then went over to Pierce Island since it was right near Prescott Park, and it was actually the location of the iconic Portsmouth picture. It's in the south end of Portsmouth and on Pierce Island, and I was looking for this area and location because I could not find it. It was on the basically like all the headlines for the like top 10 things to do in Portsmouth, but I could not find where the actual location was, so I was super happy when I found it. I was trying to find it the entire first day of our trip, so it was really nice. Okay, now this one is the infamous picture. The red shed, the tall building, everything. It's so pretty. It is so pretty. I thought that maybe they painted the red shed blue, but no. It's over there. It's so pretty. I'm so happy. And there's a tower up close that was in the picture. It was really cool to see up close. After visiting Pierce Island, we then went back to the hotel to check out. It was a very, very, very nice hotel. It was one of the AC hotels, and it was so pretty. It's by Marriott, so definitely check that out. But I mean, it was a really nice hotel, and I'm so glad that we got to stay there. It was a little bit out of place, I will say, compared to the kind of like historic buildings of Portsmouth, but it was definitely more our style for a hotel. I don't know if any of you guys have a phobia of big objects, either in the sky or on the ground or whatever, but I have a huge, huge, huge fear of big objects. And this was definitely very scary. This submarine, I can't even express how large it was, and it was even scarier getting closer because I could see the bottom of the submarine. As you can see in the video, I actually, I walked right up and then I got so scared that I had to turn around and felt like I was like gonna pass out, but it was so cool to see up close, but I will never step foot in a submarine. Never. Never ever. I mean, like, imagine this thing in the water, or imagine this as a blimp flying in the sky. Like, no, thank you. We then went to Newcastle, which was so pretty because I saw a lighthouse online that I really wanted to visit, but along the way, we found a prison that looked very much like a castle, and we were actually very confused for a while because we thought that it was a castle and we were trying to find that castle, but no, it was not a castle, it was a prison. And this was apparently a hotel that my mom was actually planning on booking us before we booked that other hotel. It was pretty funny. And this was a very pretty entrance to a street that I wish that we had. We also stumbled across one of those stand-up libraries, which I picked out a zombie survival book, and apparently it's by the same author who made World War Z. That's so cool. The lighthouse entrance is sadly closed, but we were able to go down another street and see it from afar, which was really nice, and there was also another lighthouse out in the distance, along with a miniature island and a ghost ship. It was so cool. And there was the prison. I cannot believe that it was not a castle. While driving through Newcastle, we also discovered another historical site, which was very, very, very cool. My mother looked up the details afterwards. I cannot fully remember what the details were, but it was a safety site, I believe, that was used in many different wars, which was so interesting to go and see. And apparently, you could also walk down into this area. We didn't, but it was so cool nevertheless. It was just so interesting and neat to learn more about history and just seeing how things were used and how things looked like. It was just, again, it was so interesting to see. There was a bunch of little objects sticking in the ground. There was a bunch of old buildings. There was a couple of trails that you could walk down, and also gardens that were founded from that time period. It was just so interesting. I also went in there for the content, which there really wasn't anything, but IRL, it was really, really, really dark in there. But, you know, again, still cool to see how buildings and everything looked in that time period. Right by the garden, there's also a paper which you could read up on what the gardens were used for, when they dated back to, and who they were by. And lastly, this one's a shorter section and the last place that we visited, but it was Lake Winnipesaukee. We tried to visit it 3 different times, but Google Maps leaded us in the wrong direction every time. But when we went up Mount Major, we were actually able to see Lake Winnipesaukee from a different view, or at least I believe it was Lake Winnipesaukee. It might not have even been, but it was just, again, so cool to see. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in and watching. I hope you enjoyed this little vlog. I had a blast recording it, and I just had such a fun time on this vacation. So thank you all. Stay well, stay safe, take care. Make sure to travel for yourself, get out in the world, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. So bye! Stay well. I love you all.